To work with young people, it's important to know what they live for, what they aspire to, and which opportunities they long for implementation. This is what influences their choices and behavior. We can highlight such psychological aspects that influence their behavior as needs, values, and desires. A need is a vital necessity requiring satisfaction. The most famous and widespread classification of Maslow, the hierarchy of needs, is a motivational theory in psychology and contains a 5-level model of human needs, which are often depicted as hierarchical levels in a pyramid. The 5 levels of the hierarchy are physiological, safety, love, belonging, respect, and self-actualization. Low levels basic needs such as food, water, and safety were considered to be satisfied before higher levels needs were met, but Maslow later suggested that the order in the hierarchy was not clear-cut. Our behavior is usually motivated by several needs at the same time. On the other hand, our desires reflect what is missing as a form of what we believe should satisfy our needs. It is important to know that our desire is a reaction to some external reality. Young people are often unable to shape their own desires, so creating digital content that highlights desired values can help find direction and support, especially for teenagers in shaping choices. The content itself can carry the same semantic load, but be diverse in form and methods. That is why young people widely use performing alongside limitation in social networks, which is also an indicator of their needs. A desire is what people associate with the satisfaction of a need, and a need is a feeling of inner dissatisfaction. This is the difference that manipulative content plays on. The next important personality structure component is a value structure. These are the main priorities in life that help determine who you are, what is important to you as an individual, and which people you need to be and cooperate with. Values determine a person's choice for investing their own resources, energy, and time to achieve what they want to, and are closely related to core needs. Values are usually described as relatively stable, broad life goals that are important to people in their lives and guide their perceptions, judgments, and behavior. The most common model of values is Schwarz's value theory, which identifies 10 broad values based on the motivation behind them. According to Schwarz's theory and abundant empirical evidence, values are structured based on their interrelations, which are more positively correlated and are considered to be based on compatible motivations. If needs are more about what we deeply require, the values rather reflect how and what is important to satisfy a need for. We can name such values as development, involvement, belonging, expansion, creativity, integrity, life, systematicity, faith, content with uncertainty, responsibility, acceptance, respect, curiosity, cooperation, co-creation. All these values can be manifested at all levels of our existence: material, sensual, social, personal, etc. Social values influence formation of personal ones and can be perceived as such automatically, but also there can arise some conflict and non-acceptance of them. In psychology, it is generally believed that a person's value formation takes place most actively at the stage of socialization, when young people have a need to assimilate social values while framing a personal value structure. Values activate and direct the behavior and activity of an individual, carrying out mental health regulation. That is why, in the age of the digital era, there is a specific need for some digital dissemination of such values as creativity, development, cooperation, belonging, which are relevant for a successful common future with greater involvement of young people into public activity through social media. Under the condition of core needs and values awareness, desires become the final form for finding their satisfaction in a specific request. For example, when a person is hungry and they have a need for food, and their values will influence specific food choices. Often, a desire in young people is an expression of values and needs which are not realized. Consequently, it can lead to dissatisfaction with the result or a feeling of impossibility of implementation, which is important to consider when studying the psychology of the target audience, where it's important to primarily consider core needs rather than satisfy a desire itself. Passion and genuine belief of youth workers responsible for digital content and communication plays a vital role in implementation success. Naturally, it is also necessary to be aware of youth trends, what young people are currently interested in, to know their language. Thus, digital content research and your own connection with subjects are the first crucial steps. Clarifying young people's needs is the basis for planning youth work, which allows us to form policies and work accordingly considering available opportunities, resources, and purpose while spreading the values of the future. We can help young people learn to distinguish and notice their own needs, lying beyond consumption of one or another content. Young people often get hooked on manipulative content when creative and active energy of realization is spent on consumption. Thus, it is important that values can be presented in the form of attractive, modern content that stands out among the rest. Youth workers and communities can be a source of information and access to existing opportunities created by the latest digital technologies. Therefore, young people from remote areas can have the same opportunities for education, communication, and active participation in the life of communities at different levels, as young people in the central zones do have. This includes the opportunity to learn an additional remaining profession, to be creative in an online space, to communicate and lead an active social life, having access to information about the development of various areas of life and the latest technologies that can improve the quality of life. Youth workers, in turn, can not only explore needs and desires, but also shape them with the help of digital technologies based on the values and necessary skills of the future. At the same time, there is a great need for young people to create their own content that will contribute to the development of their values, aimed at the effective realization of their potential. Based on the above, it's possible to circle out a certain algorithm for planning work with young people in the framework of crafting messages for effective communication and spreading the values. Number 1 is studying the needs and desires of young people. Number 2 is defining the values important for an effective future you are personally eager to spread. Number 3 is finding and creating visible, interesting, and useful digital forms to offer young people bearing concise, clear, coherent, and desire-provoking content. Number 4 is rhythmic presentation of this content, approbation, regular creation of new one to be posted consistently and logically. Number 5 is studying reactions and adjusting respectively. Clarification and awareness of one's needs, desires, and values gives motivation and optimism to create a vision and opportunities for the future. In this process, youth workers are fulcrums, guiding elements, and initiators of the movement towards this desired future. The opportunity to share ideas among like-minded people who are also looking for their way to a better future with the support of senior expert figures helps to create the level of activity of young people.